Hello and welcome to the Learning Love Podcast, brought to you by the Learning Love Foundation, helping people transform how they love, live, and lead. I'm your host, Dr. Mark A. Hicks, and I want to thank you for joining us today as we spend some time learning love. Love is the answer. Now all we have to do is explore all the questions. And a big question in a lot of people's minds is, how do we live a life that is peaceful? How do we have a peace within our families, within our workplaces, but particularly within our families? How do we find that place where we can just get along with one another? We can be happy together. That's a big question in a lot of families. And that's difficult in a lot of community groups and workplaces because sometimes they just fall into dysfunction. They get into a place that is highly toxic. They get into a place that people just don't get along. They suspect each other. They're always on the defensive. They say nasty things to one another. And sometimes we wonder, how are we going to get out of this? How are we going to get to a better place? And one of the things that we need to understand about that, if we have been in these kind of environments that are tense, that are difficult, where there's a lot of outrage and argument and struggle and strife, if we have been in those for a long time, and particularly if we have been raised in those kinds of families, that there was a lot of arguing, there was a lot of tension, there was a lot of yelling and a lot of outrage, and that was sort of a common thing in life, that we lived in that chaos for a long time. One of the things that we need to face, it's a very uncomfortable truth, is that you can get addicted to drama. There is a drama addiction that a lot of people have, and it is extremely powerful. Now, when we use the word addiction, we usually think about drug addiction or addiction to alcohol or some of the other things that we hear that are common addictions. But the addiction to drama is just as powerful as all those others. It affects our life. It consumes our life. That's what an addiction does. It takes over our life. Okay. Drugs are not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. They're prescribed by doctors to heal us, to do good for us. So the drugs themselves are not evil. If they're used properly, prescribed by a doctor and taken the way they were intended to be taken, on the schedule they were intended, and we follow those instructions, they can do great good. They can save our lives. They can make sure we are living healthy lives because those drugs do good things for us. It's called medication in that case. But when we are addicted to prescription drugs or to street drugs, when we get an addiction, it consumes our life. It's no longer helpful. It's no longer life-giving. It is destructive. The same thing for alcohol. There's plenty of people that have a glass of wine with dinner and it causes no problems whatsoever. All right. And if you choose to do that, I have no problem with it. I'm not going to criticize that at all. But I am going to be very concerned about an addiction to alcohol. If we have an addiction, it consumes our life. Now, we all experience a certain level of drama. Okay. There's just dramatic events that happen in our life. There are people that they have issues and they're going to bring drama into our life sometimes because they just have issues. There's going to be drama in our life. The problem is when we get addicted to it. Drama itself is not evil any more than medication is evil or having a glass of wine occasionally is evil. Drama is not evil. It happens, okay? It's something that is part of life sometimes. We have these dramatic events and sometimes we act a little wild, okay? Sometimes our emotions get the best of us and we just sort of act a little bizarre sometimes or we get carried away. It happens, okay? And that's not a bad thing. That's just being human. But when it becomes consuming, when it becomes part of our life that we are continually absorbed in drama everywhere we go, and we start creating it because we are addicted to it. We've gotten so accustomed to it that it becomes something that we start to feel uncomfortable in a life of peace. If things are quiet, if things are peaceful, if everybody's getting along, you can watch it with some families or in some workplaces. You can just watch it happen. If everything's quiet, everyone's getting along for a while, nothing really big is happening, you can almost set your watch by it with some people. You can just watch the countdown because you know they're going to pull a stunt. Okay. You may have an uncle or an aunt or someone in your life. You may have a sibling that you know it's just a matter of time. if everybody's quiet and getting along and everything's going well, they're going to drop some kind of bomb to blow things up and cause this huge fight. They're just going to do it. Those are people that are addicted to drama. Those are people that need that rush of drama. There's a dopamine hit that comes from drama. Conflict leads to adrenaline. Social media outrage gives us a stimulation. Okay. Gossiping about people, tearing people down, that tends to make us feel bonded to the person we're gossiping with. There seems to be a connection there because we're giving it to that third person over there, those people. And we're making that bond, or it feels like a bond. It's an artificial one. It's not a real relationship, but it feels like a bond when we're gossiping together against that other person and tearing them down. These crises that we create in our life, they make us feel important. They make us the center of attention. And sometimes we get addicted to that. It causes this dopamine hit in our lives that we start feeling like we need this. We don't necessarily understand that about ourselves. We don't think about it. We don't consciously go about doing that. But it begins to be this addiction that we need that drama. That quiet is harmful to us. It starts to feel awkward, and we need the chaos. We need to create the drama. We need to create the stimulation of that the chaos brings. When we have this addiction, or when we're around people that have this addiction, drama is going to follow. We're going to create it. We're going to do whatever we need to do to blow things up to make sure we have that stimulation that comes from this drama addiction. And as I said, social media can really play into that. We make this worse because people can get that hit anytime. Okay. Just imagine an alcoholic that literally lived in the liquor store and could just grab liquor anytime. That's not a great scenario. People that have a drama addiction have that kind of lifestyle because of social media, because you can get it anytime, anywhere. You just doom scroll through the outrage and find that constant stimulation. There's always somebody to fight with. There's always somebody to tear down. There's always somebody that can cause you to get ramped up, and you can get into this fight with them. Social media creates a beautiful place for addiction. For people that are in this addiction to drama, it creates a constant stream of drama. And so because some people have that, and because it is fueled continuously by social media, it just makes it worse. Within families, within workplaces, we are just continually ramping up the drama. We are continually feeding this addiction and living in chaos, living in this continual fight over nothing. You ask people that are in these kind of situations, well, why did your family start fighting? What was that fight about? And they will almost always say, I don't know. It just started. Somebody said something and it just blew up from there. And they have really no idea what the fight was about, because it wasn't about anything. There was no issue to fight about. There was no problem that needed solving. It was somebody needed to feed their addiction. And they said something that they knew would explode in that family. And so if we are going to have peace in our families, in our workplaces, and ultimately in the world, we're going to have to get a handle on this addiction. And like any addiction, the first step is to admit we have one. Admit that, I probably am getting really caught up in the drama. We may not want to admit that it's an addiction, but it is. But we can say things like, I just get caught up in the social media. Sometimes it just feels awkward for me when there's quiet and there's peace and there's calm. It just feels weird. I feel like something's about to explode. So sometimes I just make it explode so I can just get that over with. There's these ideas that we have to face, that we are addicted to the drama. We are in a place in our lives and in our society where drama is such a part of life that we almost don't know how to live without it, that we need this constant stimulus of outrage. And that's something we're going to have to overcome. There seems to be obvious limits to that. We can only have so much outrage towards one another without our society falling. We can only have so much outrage towards our family, within our family, without the family collapsing. People cannot live with constant turmoil and chaos all the time and have any kind of stability. That is the opposite of stability. And those kinds of relationships collapse in any number of ways. And so the first thing to overcoming this addiction is to admit we have one. And it is really easy, since so many people have it, to just feel like it's normal. So many people in our society are addicted to drama. It's so easy to feel like we're the normal ones, that this is okay, that this is just the way life is. When we get on social media, again, we find a lot of people that are addicted to drama. And so it just feels like, well, we're just like them. We're like everybody else. Everybody's addicted to drama, so it doesn't feel like anybody is. That we're all just the same. We're all just normal. Addiction to drama is not the way we're meant to live. It is not a lifestyle that is healthy. It's not a lifestyle that leads to happy relationships. It's not a lifestyle that leads to healthy love. And so if we are going to find ways of overcoming this, if we're going to find ways that we can break this addiction, we need to admit that we have one. We need to admit that we are addicted to the drama. And there's a few things that we can do then that can help us with this. And one of those ways is learn to be quiet. It may just be 10 seconds at first. If you are a person that is in constant chaos, you are constantly creating drama, or maybe it's created for you and you keep playing into it. You may not be the instigator, but you're playing into it. If you are a family that is constantly creating this chaos and these fights and these arguments and all this stuff, learn to be quiet. Even if you have to start with just 10 seconds, learn to be quiet and take a deep breath. People that are caught up in drama usually are ramped up and very rarely take deep breaths. I know that sounds trivial, but it's stimulus to our body. It sends our body and our brains a signal that it's time to calm down. Okay, because when we're all ramped up, we are naturally breathing in a shallow manner. When we intentionally take a deep breath, we're sending a signal to our brains, we need to calm down. It's time to relax a little bit. Take 10 seconds, take a deep breath. Just one really deep breath. Practice that until you can go 20 seconds and take 2 really deep breaths. Practice being quiet, getting off to yourself. Don't scroll on your phone. Don't talk to anybody. Get by yourself, breathe deeply, and just be quiet. This starts to break the pattern, because when we're addicted to drama, our head is on a swivel. We're constantly looking for what's the next slight, what's the next offense, what's the next thing we can be mad about, who's the next person insulting us, what's the next thing online that we can get outraged about. And so put your phone away, step away from your computer, get into a room by yourself, not around anyone else, and breathe quietly. Just be quiet. This starts to break the addiction. It doesn't do it the first time. But practice that. Practice it on a regular basis. Practice it a few times a day, okay? Everybody's got 10 seconds to take a deep breath. Practice this a few times a day until it starts to feel a little more natural. Because at first it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel strange to just take a deep breath. It's going to feel strange to be quiet, but that's where it starts. And build up. Build up so you can do that for a minute or 2 minutes and learn just to sit quietly, breathing deeply. The second thing is set limits on the social media. All right. I don't think social media is evil. I'm not trying to criticize it. It's got some good aspects to it. But like other things, it can be addictive. And it can be addictive in some very bad ways. And when we're addicted to drama, social media is just going to feed the drama. Okay. So set limits. I'm not saying you have to eliminate it completely from your life, but keep it more towards the positive side. Okay. Look at what your friends are doing online and comment on that in a positive way. Okay, instead of seeing all the doom scrolling stuff, look for your friends. Look for your maybe distant family members that live in other states. Look them up. Find out what they're doing and comment on that. Find some good things in social media to connect with people so that you're not just doom scrolling through the outrage. And when you see stuff that is outrage, remember, you do not have to respond. It will feel like you have to, but you don't. You do not have to get baited into these arguments that these people are, and very often professionals are trying to bait you into to play off your outrage so they can make money. You don't need to play into that. Okay? You can just scroll past that. Again, take a deep breath, scroll past it, move on. You don't have to feed the outrage. And when it starts in your family, don't play into it. Okay? When somebody drops that bomb, just kind of smile and nod and move on. Don't play into the drama your family is so used to. That will look weird. Your family wants to know what's wrong with you. And you can tell them, you know what? I think I'm just addicted to all this drama and I'm trying to break that addiction. They may not understand what that means, but that's okay. Don't play into the constant chaos. If you are going to have an argument in your family, and every family does, okay? Every family has arguments. Every couple argues at times. Every family has these, every single one of them. I teach this stuff for a living. Of course, my wife and I have disagreements on occasion. Of course we do. We're both individuals. We have our opinions. Yes, of course we have arguments at times. Every family does. We have that, but have a reason why you're arguing. Have a reason behind it, that we have a problem we've got to solve. We've got an issue that needs to be discussed, and discuss it. You don't have to yell about it. You don't have to throw things. You don't have to make threats. You don't have to take personal attacks. You can work at solving the problem. It's a very different kind of argument than many families have. Work to solve a problem. Work to figure out a disagreement. Listen to one another. Don't just fight to be fighting. And when somebody tries to start stuff because they're addicted to drama, don't play into it. You can actually say to people, I just don't want to do this drama right now. I don't want to do that. They'll probably get mad, but they're looking for a reason to be mad anyway. You don't have to play into it. Don't get pulled into this. Same at work, okay? If somebody just wants to start drama, do the same thing. Don't play into it. If there's a problem to solve, look for a solution. But if it's just fighting to blow off steam, it's not helpful. It's an addiction to drama. And so recognize it in yourself and in other people. Recognize this is an addiction to drama, and I'm not going to play into it. I'm going to stay calm. I'm going to be polite. I'm going to be compassionate because I understand they're feeding into this because of their addiction. It's not that they're evil or mean or terrible people. It's that they have an addiction, and I'm going to have some sympathy for that. I'm going to have some compassion for that, but I'm not going to play into it. If we do those kinds of things, if we take some time to be quiet and take deep breaths on a regular basis throughout the day, breaking that cycle, breaking that constant brain function of just looking for the next outrage. We start to break that cycle and find that calm when we intentionally use social media for more good and we let some of the outrage go. We don't just doom scroll. We look for good things on social media to connect with people, to connect with friends and family. And we stay away from some of the rage bait that's on there, understanding they're just playing us for their own benefit, for their own money making. Let's not play into all that junk. And when it happens in your workplace, when it happens at home, don't play into it. Don't argue just to be arguing. If there's a problem to solve, work to solve it, but stay on task. And when it's just this big blow up, don't play into it. And then you can say with compassion, I just don't want to do the drama. I really feel like I'm addicted to some of this chaos and I'm trying to break that. And so you need to take that somewhere else. I just don't want to play into it right now. Again, they'll probably get mad, but they're going to be mad anyway. That's what they're looking for. So take care of yourself. Don't play into the drama. When we start breaking our addictions to drama, we stop the doom scrolling. We stop the fighting just to fight. We stop all this constant noise and we learn how to find quiet. Then we will learn how to find peace. And peace can grow. Again, it's like everything else. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not instant, but it can grow. And as we grow into a family of peace, as we grow peace in our workplaces, it begins to affect our communities. And ultimately, hopefully, if enough people do it, it affects society. The reason the social media stuff works is because so many people play into the division and the hate. If we break the addiction to drama and we start treating each other better, we start treating each other with quiet, calm, and break the addiction to drama, we're going to have better families, better workplaces, and that ultimately is going to affect our community and our society. So start at home, start in your workplace, recognize your own addiction to drama, recognize other people's addiction to drama, and take steps to break the addiction. And that's my thoughts this week as we are looking to build better lives through the practice of love. This program is brought to you by the Learning Love Foundation. You can find out more by going to learninglovefoundation.com. As always, my thanks to my producer, Abby Graves of Abby Graves Productions, and thank you to all of you for listening. Until next week, love well, everyone.